Sydney, NSW, is about to change forever. The Development Building Approval Application Process. Let almost all land in New South Wales can build higher density housing. Original single-family villa. Duplex villas can be built. Three-piece terrace. 1 to 2 floor apartment. Original medium density. Higher density apartment buildings can be built. The state government also bypassed the city's approval process. Originally, they were not approved. Can be approved now. The original approval application process took 3 to 5 years. Now it only takes 20 days at the fastest. It is expected that within the next 5 years in the Greater Sydney area, Hunter, Central Coast and Illawarra region will increase the supply of housing by 112,000 units out of thin air. What about this policy? Will have an impact on the Sydney property market. Have a huge and far-reaching impact. The future supply of housing will rise significantly. Will Sydney house prices continue to rise? How investors should adjust their strategies. One step closer to your wealth goal. The New South Wales government has just released a new policy. Although the details have not been announced yet, but the general direction has been determined. Said it will be within the next 5 years. Approved directly by the state government. Increase housing density on almost all land. Build an additional 112,000 homes and bring them to market. This probably accounts for the NSW government's commitment to the federal government. 377,000 units built in 5 years. 1/3 of new housing. Hosted by the NSW government in October. Found out during market research. Among 32 LEPs in Greater Sydney, only 2 are 2 zoning. Allow building terrace. And 1 to 2 floor apartments. What about friends who have never done real estate development? Maybe it sounds like a heavenly book. It's actually really easy. I'll explain it and you'll understand. Greatest Sydney region. There are 33 municipal governments in total. Like the City of Sydney we are familiar with. City of Parramatta. The Hills Shire. Wait a minute. All belong to the municipal government. Also called local government area, LGA. Each LGA operates independently, not affiliated with each other, for its own residents. At the same time, voters come to seek benefits. So it came about. Approval per LGA. Different regulations for developing buildings. To reflect the wishes of residents. Local Environmental Plan, LEP. It is drafted by each LGA. Must be observed. Guidance documents related to development and building approvals. Of course, the LEP of each LGA is different. What about LEP? The most important provision is what can each plot be used for? That is zoning. What about the zoning system in New South Wales? There are 35 categories in total. Among them, there are 5 types related to housing. They are R1 to R5 respectively. The simplest understanding. R2 is low density. Independent villas can be built. Semi-detached house. R3 is medium density. Townhouses can be built. Townhouses or community villas. R4 is high density. High-rise apartments can be built. What about practical applications? It's more complicated than that. Do you understand this? Let's translate the above sentence again. In October, the NSW government during the investigation it was discovered among the 32 councils in Greater Sydney, there are only 2 municipal governments above are 2 low-density plot terraces can be built or an apartment on the first or second floor. This only accounts for 6% of the total land area. In addition, are 3 medium-density plots it could have been developed low-density apartment building but only 40% of our 3 sites are allowed to be developed so our 2 and our 3 plots has not been fully utilized This is despite the current housing shortage seems out of place must be changed So what should it be changed to? How many specific points are there? That first on all our 2 land parcels throughout New South Wales all are allowed to develop dual occupancy It is to develop 2 houses on a piece of land live for 2 families It can be with a common wall for example, a duplex villa or there is no common wall granny flat The second is in the transportation hub or the R2 plot near the city centre Townhouses can be developed The title deeds have been separated and they look similar Townhouse terrace or a low-rise apartment building with 1 to 2 floors The third is in the transportation hub urban centre near employment centre R3 plot within 800 meters Medium-density apartment buildings of 3 to 6 stories can be developed See here I think you are smart enough to feel it How many new houses will be launched in New South Wales? Almost all train stations Housing density near employment centres are directly improved by an order of magnitude But that's not the most cruel thing It turns out that each LGA operates independently. Separate approval even if it can be approved It also requires several years of approval process Hey, no need now State governments directly legislate bypassing the city government approval process It is expected to take effect from the second half of 2024. Entering the application stage This will affect the entire New South Wales residential real estate supply side develop the construction industry, etc. Have a profound impact the investment logic of our ordinary investors It also needs to be corrected after the new policy comes online What will happen This process of reasoning It's actually quite interesting. Just like economics When I was in school almost every economics major class all spent in the process of reasoning For example, if a factor in the economy changes which other factors will affect it? Then which factor affects it? At what point in time What impact will it have on the economy? Just like a detective Later, I entered the real estate industry Just use a similar method based on historical experience and data. Future economic trends make inferences about house price trends looking back after that mostly right. It seems like I learned something It's always useful New policy is online the most obvious change This greatly reduces the approval time procedures and fees It turns out that it takes several years for the city government to approve building development applications that may not be approved yet Now it's in the hands of the state government approval documents can be issued as soon as 20 days This is definitely for developers and builders Save a lot of time and cost. Because time is also one of the costs. But the problem is, urban residents view themselves developments I don't like here. Almost no say. I feel like some of my democratic rights have been taken away. I have traveled to many countries and regions. I found that in all urban areas, new houses and old houses alternate. Infrastructure upgrades are relatively slow. Most are democratic systems. Because everyone has an opinion. It is difficult to unify opinions. Facing tough problems. For example, the current housing supply crisis. There is an authority to come forward and do it uniformly, able to solve problems better. But this involves another problem. Who caused it? There is not enough housing for a large population. Too many immigrants are the direct cause. We need immigrants. It's because our own population growth is too slow. Economic growth is too slow. Lack of full competition in the market. In fact, in the final analysis, part of it is the habit of Australians themselves. And thinking patterns. The other part is the current direction of governance. And economic construction capacity issues. What about these issues? It won't be solved in a short time. So the state government's solution. At present, there seems to be no better substitute. Secondly, what about individual developers? There may be more and more. The construction industry will rise. Especially small construction companies. Because the demand for small-scale development has skyrocketed. If your villa is in a transportation hub area, within 800 meters, don't worry, the price will definitely go up. Because there is development potential. Homeowners see home prices rising. Development has begun all around. Higher density housing. Then you are faced with several choices. Sell villa. Buy an apartment. Also called downsize. Or become your own developer. Or be a nail shop. Wait until the surrounding area is almost fully built before selling it. What about the last one? Is risky. If you've ever walked through an apartment complex in Sydney, you pay attention and observe. Between apartment buildings, there is a very independent villa. It's still a very old one. Those are usually nail households. I just want to sell it to developers at a high price. As a result, the developer gave up. Directly bought several surrounding houses for development. This is just out of control. Development and construction demand rises. Will create more construction companies. Where are more people? Will join the construction industry. Will face two extremes. The first is to make up for it. Just want to make money. What about this kind of company? Will hire at low price. Workers with unskilled skills. Use cheaper materials. Build cheap, average quality houses. Anyway, there is a lot of demand. What are you doing if you don't have to worry about having no work? So when it comes to new construction in old areas, quality of affordable housing, there will only be a downward trend. And better districts. More expensive house. The quality will be better. All of these are based on the basis that enough construction workers can be found. So, what about labor in the construction industry? I think it will surge again. Cost of construction and final property price. It will also rise. What about the construction industry in the first few years after the New Deal was implemented? It will be a wild competitive state. After process price and quality will stabilize entering a state of full competition. Then there are independent villas getting rarer because the current single-family villa almost all can be redeveloped. The first thing to disappear is villa in a convenient area. Is the development completed first? Become a mid to high-density townhouse or high-rise. Then it's the turn of those in areas with less convenient transportation. That's especially suitable for families. A large villa for a quiet life. So what is the price of this kind of villa? Will continue to rise in the long term. Villas with large land will be more popular because there is development potential. For example, generally land of more than 400 square meters. Develop dual occupancy. More than 600 square meters of land. Townhouses or terraces can be developed. Of course, in practice, there are more detailed guidelines. It is also necessary to analyze specific issues in detail. What about the implementation of new policies? It will also cause a lot of problems. For example, transportation hubs. The surrounding residential density increases. But the road was not widened. There is no parking control either. That will only cause more traffic congestion. It's getting harder and harder to get in and out by car. So where are more people? Will rely on public transportation to commute to get off work. Sydney's bus system will be full. If work time exceeds 30 minutes one way. Hey, this kind of house may no longer be popular. There are even some people because the commute time is too long. Choose to move to Brisbane. Perth, Adelaide, these cities. Enjoy a 15-minute commute. What about a house with a parking space? Will be more popular. There are many single apartments in Sydney. There is no parking space for one-bedroom apartments. What is the value-added potential of buying this kind of property? There may be some discounts. So many good urban areas are being developed. Demolish old house and build new one. Hey, this gives many opportunities to overseas buyers. People without PR. Easier to be in a good area. Convenient transportation area. Bought a new low to medium density house. This will push up the price of this type of property again. The new policy will enter the public display stage next week. Details will be released by then. The first one is Melbourne house prices in November. Already started to fall. In fact, it has entered a flat period. Sydney house prices are still rising. But the magnitude is already minuscule. Also entered the flat period. This is similar to what we did in June this year. Predictions in the semi-annual live broadcast. Completely suitable. Second, Melbourne's real estate investment environment continues to deteriorate. The new policy that was just introduced a few days ago. Victoria's void value tax will be introduced. Increased from 1% to 3%. Also pay once a year. According to the average price of a detached house in Victoria. $934,000 calculation. Current annual vacancy tax payment is $9,340. Starting in 2025. Pay $28,000 per year. Combined with the previous 4 related tax increases. Return on property investment in Victoria. Compared to other states and territories. It's getting lower and lower. What about investor confidence? Maybe this time among the major cities. Melbourne starts first. One of the reasons for the fall in house prices. Of course, this is just a short-term trend here. When policy changes here, or when population dynamics change here, Melbourne will usher in another period of rising house prices here. If you see this here, please help me like and subscribe.